Welcome, everybody. It is Remodelers on the Rise live. Remodelers on the Rise live. I am your host. I was about to say I'm your host with the most, but that's kind of obnoxious. But I can be obnoxious sometimes. I'm your host with the most, Kyle Hunt, and it is a pleasure to bring today's show to you, which is on a specific topic that popped up in the Remodelers Community Facebook group about finding your ideal project. Did you know that not all projects are equally valuable to you? There are some that are more valuable than others. And there's some strategic thought that you can be thinking about and maybe even deciding on to maybe limit the non-ideal projects and maybe attract more of your ideal projects. So that's what we're going to dig into this very day. We're going to be chiming because I'm going to share 10 thoughts with you on this topic, and we're going to go through them one by one. I would welcome your questions. I would welcome your thoughts. Here's what I posted the other day. Is there a type of project where your team excels and that's most profitable? It's a question I asked. Is there a type of project where your team excels, they excel at it, they're excellent at it, and on top of that, when you're studying your numbers, it's also the most profitable? Find more of those. Don't be all things to all people. I like to create posts like that to get you thinking. And that one got some questions and some thoughts. And one of the gentlemen commented and said, have you created a podcast, or is there a place where you've delved into this topic deeper? And I couldn't remember specifically one. So I said Thursday's show is going to be about it. I'm going to share with you guys 10 thoughts on this topic. And I'm sharing knowledge, I'm sharing questions for you to be thinking about. But there's one thing to keep in mind. This advice is meant to get you thinking. It's hard for me to say, yes, you do this or you do that, because this type of strategy requires really evaluating a lot of things in your business. We've really got to understand the financials and your job costing and what projects are stronger for you than others. We need to really understand the strength of your team. We need to think about what you most enjoy doing. There's just a lot of strategic thought. But even without being able to maybe say, do this or do that, my hopes is that it'll get you thinking and that there's going to be some value in this conversation. So the first little nugget of wisdom slash thought on this topic that I wanted to share. And by the way, for those of you watching live, can you throw me a comment? Maybe share how your day is going. Maybe a one-word open, one word on how you're feeling. Maybe even a like. That always encourages me. Let's get active. Maybe what you had. Go ahead and write in there, what'd you have for breakfast today? It's the weird things like that that usually gets you guys to comment. What'd you have for breakfast today, people? And then all of a sudden people come out of the woodworks and want to share that. So please share that. And by the way, if you're listening to the recording of this, that question that I posted, that was through Remodelers Community. If you go to remodelerscommunity.com, you can request to join that Facebook group. Oh, we're getting close to 1,000 members. Laurel says, on fire. So how are you doing today? She's on fire. Laurel, I'm going to talk about you during the show today, which may be why you dialed in, because this is something that you have strategically went after. And Bailey would like the people to know that she had a green smoothie for breakfast. Somebody else, yogurt. See, you guys just love randomness, which I like too. All right. So number one on these 10 thoughts on this topic of finding your ideal project. Realize that there's value in being a specialist versus a generalist. There's real value in the minds and eyes and thoughts of your potential clients and your prospects in being a specialist versus a generalist. And there's all kinds of examples you could look at outside of remodeling. If, heaven forbid, one of my children had an issue with their heart, yes, I might take them to the pediatrician, to the regular doctor, but I am seeking out a specialist. I want to be sitting in front of a heart specialist, somebody who knows in an in-depth way that particular challenge or problem that we have. You need not look any further than me on this topic. I am more valuable to you because I have gone very, very deep in a narrow niche. I don't talk about accountants. I don't talk to CPAs. I don't talk to what other businesses? Doctors or dentists, or I run a shop downtown. None of those people are my clients. I focused my work on a very small sliver of the business world, residential remodelers, primarily, who do interior type work. And because I've gone very focused and very deep, my depth of knowledge and my experience is more valuable to you than if I was a generalist. Right? So look around, you see where when people are specialists versus generalists, there's tremendous value there. People can charge more because of that. People find more value. You know how we charge more in general, by the way? If you want to charge more in your modeling business, you have to build up the value of what you offer. And sometimes being a specialist instead of a generalist is a great way to do that. So that's one thought on this topic, is wrap your head around that a little bit, that there's great value in being a specialist versus a generalist. And back to my question, Heather says, lots of project planning today. Excellent. That's what she's up to today. And while doing that, listening to the Remodelers on the Rise show. Heather, project planning, I'll just share real briefly. You all, however you want me to say it, the work that you're putting into design and project planning and getting the details right and squashing allowances and getting into specific selections, all of that tremendously hard, tenacious, focused work is worth every minute. It is going to lead to a better remodeling experience for your client. It is going to lead to a project that you're able to deliver on time and on budget. Less headaches, less surprises. Keep working hard, and I know it's hard, to get all of that planning done before a hammer hits the job site. Okay. But we are also, the fun of a live show is that I can rant like that, but then we get back to where we were. So number one, 10 thoughts on this finding your ideal type of project. Remember, there's value in being a specialist versus generalist. Number two, processes and systems are easier when you focus on fewer types of projects. Processes and systems are easier when you focus on fewer types of projects. I want to make sure we're all on the same page. For a remodeler, if you do kitchens, baths, decks, basements, occasional new construction, windows, siding, roofing, if you are jack of all trades, master of none, it is harder for you to dial in your processes and systems. Even if you narrow that down to just saying, we specialize in kitchens, bathrooms, and additions, that is a little easier to dial in our systems, to dial in our checklists, to make sure that our processes and our step-by-step is stronger. And then the more you narrow that down, the easier it gets to have your systems and processes really fine-tuned. Something I'm realizing as year after year goes of my coaching is that there's some key things that we implement into the remodeling business that really moves the needle. Charging for design and project development, if you're not doing it right now, wow, that makes a huge difference, right? As an example, really understanding your P&L and job costing, wow, if you're not doing that, that can really move the needle. But after you really get some of those foundational things in place, so much of continuing to improve your business is just fine-tuning. Lots of little fine-tuning. Running a successful remodeling business, as I've said 347 times, is doing a lot of little things right. There's no magic bullet. It's a combination of a lot of little things. And boy, when you specialize in the types of projects you take on, you are giving yourself an opportunity to really fine-tune. And we all know that when we really fine-tune and have our systems and processes dialed in, and we know exactly what comes next, and our team has done this project 74 times, wow, does it make us efficient. And when we're efficient, we are productive. And when we're productive, we are profitable, right? So focusing on fewer types of projects and narrowing that down, we can really fine tune our processes and systems. Okay, so there's another thought. Number three, and Laurel, you're watching this live and you commented when I posted this thread. So I just wanted to use you as an example. And hopefully you're smirking instead of like, oh, what's he going to say? I don't know. It's just a nice example. Laurel with She Builds. You know what She Builds? That's her business name, by the way. She Builds. If you go to shebuildskitchens.com, you'll see her business. And you need not look any further and even pull that up. And you already know what she does, don't you? Kitchens. We do kitchens. There is great power in being able to say, you know what we specialize in? We do kitchens, and we are amazing at it. And we've got wonderful design and processes and little things that we do. It's our bread and butter. It's what we do day in, day out, week in, week out. What a strong message to put out there when it comes to your sales process, when it comes to just your overall messaging, when it comes to your marketing. Good marketing attracts the right client and repels the wrong client. And when you really specialize, that makes marketing a little bit easier to attract and repel. The other thing it does is it just gives clarity. Wow, you guys specialize in this. Wow, this isn't your first rodeo. How many kitchens? We've done 420 kitchens over the years. There's great power in that. So I was going to pull up the screen, but I think that kind of stands on its own. Take a look at how she's doing it. Kitchen Solvers is a franchise. I've spoken and done their keynote of their franchise over a couple years. That was the first time I played, what's that called? What's that golf called? I've played lots of golf. I love golf. What's the golf where you hit it and you get scores? Hang on. I'm not moving on until I forget. Top Golf. You guys ever played Top Golf before? It's quite fun. It's quite enjoyable. Even if you're not a great golfer, you can still have fun. When I was the keynote speaker down in Orlando, Florida for Kitchen Solvers a few years ago, we went and played Top Golf. But Kitchen Solvers is a good example. What do? They do kitchens. It's easier to market. The messaging is clearer. The value is more. So some people specialize in bathrooms. Some people specialize in kitchens and baths. Some people specialize in additions. There's a lot of different ways to shake this out. But that's a good example that you can look at and learn more from. Number 4, is there a type of project, going back to my original question, is there a type of project where your team excels the most? Let's pause there. Is there a type of project that your employees really enjoy and that they're really good at? Similarly, is there a type of project that they aren't good at? Meaning they don't enjoy it, they're not that talented at it, just their skills, and it's just they're not productive with it. So just think about that, first of all. Again, there's a lot of shades to this conversation. Maybe you don't go all in like Laurel did with we do kitchens, but there's some shades to this. Maybe you do put some emphasis more on additions, because the way that your business is designed, your team is designed, those types, your skill level, you can specialize more in that. It doesn't mean that you're never going to do any other projects, but way more of your messaging and your marketing and your efforts, especially if you're getting a lot of leads, you qualify out non-ideal leads, so there's a lot of shades to this. It doesn't mean you have to go all in, but maybe there's in between. But think about that. When you think of your team, what are you set up the best for? That's a good question to kind of think about. And then secondly, not only what you're set up the best for, but also that you're most profitable at. Mike Medford, who I've had on the Remodelers on the Rise show before, commented on this thread, and he kind of emphasized that last point of, how you can really tell what's most profitable? This is where job costing comes in. If you're really dialed in and consistent with your job costing, you can see very clearly where your most profitable projects are. And you couple this, the type of project where a team excels the most, along with the most profitable. And that's going to give you some fuel and some direction on, wow, if we did more of these projects, we're going to be more profitable. Things are going to go smoother. Maybe we should spend a little time focusing more on attracting these clients. Maybe we should create on our website a lot more focus on these types of projects. Maybe in the marketing efforts and the social media posts and the mailings, and when we reach back out to previous clients, maybe we should emphasize these projects more. There's many, many ways to start to move in that direction. And there's a lot of wisdom in that strategy. We're talking about strategy here, right? These are strategic questions. How are we doing so far? We're through the first 4 here. The question again is kind of thinking about finding your ideal project. What is your ideal project? I'm sharing 10 thoughts with you on this topic. The first one being there's value. There's a lot of value in being a specialist versus a generalist. We talked about processes and systems and how you can really fine tune when you niche or niche down. I use an example of Laurel with She Builds. I mentioned kitchen solvers as just 2 examples of what this could look like, especially if you go all in on it. And number 4, is there a type of project where your team excels at the most and that's also most profitable? It's a great strategic question and thing for you to dig into and consider. Any comments? Any questions? Any takeaways? I'll keep going. Somebody comments on this. I think I'm going off of memory. Was it Robbie Williams? Rich Williams. Commented on this. He said, I live in Billings, Montana, where the population is about 180,000. Is population a factor when considering a niche, or for you fancy people, a niche business? I fear that if I limited my offerings, that I might have difficulty staying busy. Good question. Good thoughts. A place with 180,000 people, solid population based like that, I don't worry too much about it. That's a pretty solid base of folks to work off of. Somebody else commented on that thread, my man Zeke. Zeke is up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And I don't really allow most of my clients to give me this. Well, you don't know about my area. My area is different. It's hard to find people. It's hard to find trades. I usually don't let that fly when I'm coaching people. But my man Zeke, it is a little different world up there in the Upper Peninsula. Very spaced out, very low density of population. And in his case, it's harder. It'd be much harder for him to really say, I only do this. Not impossible, but harder. So, in your case, Rich, that seems like it has enough population to support it. Number 2, you commented on there that you're still a fairly small business. So you don't need $4 million of revenue in order to make this work. If you niche down and specialize, you don't need $4 million worth of revenue. So that makes it much more doable. And then look at what you wrote. I fear that if I limited my offering, that I may have difficulty staying busy. That's one side of it. The other side of it, I could add this. I fear that if I continue to do all things to all people, my messaging is not going to be clear. I fear that if I continue to do kitchens, bathrooms, basements, additions, roofing, windows, siding, I'm never going to be able to build a team around me that can really specialize. I fear that if I continue to do all these different things, I'm not going to get my systems and processes dialed in. So there's a flip side to that. Yes, there's a risk, and you do need to think strategically. Can my area support the business I'm looking to grow and be if I niche down to something specific? At the same time, think about the flip side of that if you continue to be a generalist, if you continue to kind of be all things to all people, there's also disadvantages to that. So there's a little bit of a balance there. Okay, let's keep going. We're cruising. I think this is good content, good things for you to be thinking about. And I'm hoping there's 1 or 2. A lot of times I'm just thinking about 1. Even if there's 1 person that listens to this live, listens to the recording on remodelerscommunity.com, listens to it on the podcast, Remodelers on the Rise, listen to it on your favorite podcast app, by the way. And hey, if you're listening to my podcast, can you help me out a little bit? Can you take a minute and just click? I don't ask for money. I'm not asking you for money, although I would love for you to sign up for Remodelers Autopilot. I'll take your $1 to try that out if you want to stay in touch with previous clients. I will ask for that. But I want to give you guys free advice. I would love a review on Apple, though. If you're listening to this podcast on Apple, just pause it. Go back to the little Remodelers on the Rise thing. Just give me a little love on there. I would appreciate that. Moving on. All right. Number 5. Will your team get bored? Will you get bored? You know what my biggest fear in niching my business down to just working with remodelers has been over the years? I kind of say the same thing over and over and over again. The problems that I see are very similar from client to client. Am I going to get bored with this? Am I going to just be wanting something new? I'm 13 years in, and I'm still, there's so much more depth into my niche. That has not been the case at all for me. Lucky for you guys. I'm loving it. And it's opened up so much other possibilities and ability for me to structure services and offerings, et cetera. But it's a fair question. Will your team get bored if they're doing the same type of project over and over again? Will you get bored? Will you miss the variety? It's a strategic thought that you should also consider as you're evaluating if you want to be a little bit more of a specialist than a generalist. Laurel says, I don't have to look for subs anymore. They come to me and ask to work with me. Laurel, add a little bit more on why that is. I'm going to take a guess. The reason that is because trade partners and also, Laurel, do we call them subs? They are not sub anything. They are your trade partners. Laurel, you know better than that. But why? Why is that? If I were to take a guess, the reason being, when you are a trade partner, a carpenter, an electrician, a plumber, and you are working for a builder who's doing this, that, this, and everything else, a lot of times that can be chaotic. You're kind of doing this one day, doing that one day. Just like employees tend to appreciate having some consistency in the work they do and that they're skilled at, and boy, we are really excel at this. I'm guessing the reason you're saying that is because trade partners are like, wow, they're solid, they're stable, they're consistent, they do very similar work. I can be profitable at this. But share a little bit more on that. Okay, number 6, another thought I had here is jack of all trades, master of none. Why do we use that phrase? Just wanted to unpack that a little bit. We use it most of the time in a little bit of a negative connotation, almost a little derogatory. Oh yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. We're pretty good at a lot of things, but we are not masterful on one thing. Kind of think about that. Is that the type of business that you want to be? Do you want to be more of that handyman type business? Do you want to be, I grew up on this one in the Metro Detroit area. We're father and son. We do it all. No job too big, no job too small. We're father and son. Give us a call. I just heard that on the radio a lot. Sometimes I don't really put effort into singing, and then you guys are probably sitting there thinking, he's not really a good singer. But the fact of the matter is, I actually am slightly talented at singing. I should really just own it when I sing jingles like that. But do you want to be no job too big, no job too small? We do it all. Is that the type of, do you want to be that type of business? Or do you want to be more of a specialist? We used to be jack of all trades, master of none. And then we realized that these are the projects that we excel at, that we deliver the most value at. And we've really focused our business, our marketing, our messaging, our efforts, our sales process around this type of project or these two types of projects. Interesting. Laurel says, I provide regular and frequent work. Okay. Yeah, because you're keeping busy. Excellent. Sorry for yelling about that sub thing. But come on. All right, so that one, just a few thoughts on the jack of all trades. Number 7, we touched on this. Your market can't support the risk. Your market can't support your business if you only focus on fill in the blank. Fill in the blank. Now, if you made a strategic decision like this and said, I am going to, for the next 6 months, just zero in super, super clear on this type of project. If it's not working, if the market shifts, if you're realizing the market can't really support it, you can go back to doing what you were doing. You can adjust your qualification when leads come through. You can, go back to even leads over the previous 3 months and say, we were really focused on some certain types of projects. Some things have changed around a little bit, and we would be interested in chatting with you on your project. It's okay. It's not the end of the world if you focus in on something. Right? So you can always kind of adjust this as you go. So keep that in mind. There is a risk in it. You need to think through, can your market support your business if you only focus on fill in the blank or this and this? Okay. Number 8 out of 10 thoughts on this topic. Number 8 is, can you be more profitable? Can you charge more? If you did this, can you charge more? Can you be more efficient? Would you have a smoother design and development process? Think through that a little bit as you consider the types of projects you're most efficient at, the types of projects you're most profitable at. As you think of your team around you and what they're really good at, think about this. Could you be more profitable if you increase the percentage of your overall work around a specific type of project? Think about it. Run some numbers. Look at what percentage of your revenue came from a certain area already. Right? I'll use an example outside of our industry. This was the first year out of the last 12 that I'm not intimately working with an IT company called IT Direct. You ever wonder where 5P comes from? That's my boy Ari. who runs IT Direct. They've continued to grow. But about 2 years ago, I was their kind of outsourced marketing director. And it was about 2 years ago, we put a line in the sand. We looked at the client deck and realized, wow, 30% of our overall revenue is coming from manufacturers, providing IT services to manufacturers. And we had some systems in place that, our services really lined up with that. And our marketing efforts shifted from, we do IT services for this to this to this to this. And we shifted it to, we provide IT services for manufacturers in the greater Hartford, Connecticut area. Took just looking at a sliver of the business. By the way, other people still reached out, even though we were specializing. So there's that. But when we started specializing, now we created a podcast called Made in America with Ari Santiago, where he was interviewing manufacturing leaders. We joined the different manufacturing related associations, and all of our efforts were focused around that ideal client because it was more profitable. The systems could be smoother, more efficient. Specialist versus generalist. There's this type of thought and strategy is all around us. Keep an eye out for it. Good. I only said subs because I was responding to the comment that subs are hard to find. Okay, fair enough. Did I say subs? Uh-oh. All right. The ninth item. Even if your messaging and marketing is focused around one or two types of projects, people will still reach out. You're not totally turning off those opportunities. Music to your ears. I know you specialize in kitchens and bathrooms. We have a basement project. Would that be something you guys would also be interested in? That means your marketing is strong. Your messaging is strong. That message is getting out there. But also, as risky, quote unquote, as this might feel, those types of leads and opportunities, you'll still get them. You'll still see them kind of popping through. Maybe a little bit less, which is probably good if this is your strategy. Okay. And number 10, this is a strategic decision. This is not a tactic. This is not something I kind of try and just a little thing I throw against the wall. This is a very strategic conversation, a very strategic decision. And as I've walked you through these questions, it is based on understanding you as a business and what you guys are good at. It's tying in your team. It's tying in your profitability and financials. It's tying in how you want to market and position yourself and message. It's a very strategic decision. And my hopes on just going through this and making you think and giving you some topics and thoughts and experiences and examples is that it's something that you're going to sit and ponder. When I want to ponder in my office, I put my hands here and I look out that little window over there and I just kind of think. There's a lot of things in this little presentation today to make you think. There's a lot of value in perhaps pursuing, narrowing down the types of projects that you're looking to have in your business. Somebody said, I usually make better profit when I can finish a project quickly and get on to the next. Less trade partners and working one project at a time seems to work best for me. But of course I cannot meet the demand very quickly. Okay. So you're thinking about the number one thing I saw there is I usually make better profit, right? We're focused around, I understand my job costs and I understand my profitability. And boy, I enjoy it. My clients enjoy it when we can really focus on one project at a time and move to the next. So for example, additions are not going to allow you to do that. So maybe, if you have additions that come through, maybe you turn those down and really focus on these projects where you can stay focused one at a time or have one of your crews on it from start to finish and really drive it from start to completion. Just what you're saying there is some strategic thought, and that could impact the way you're thinking about your messaging and how you want to market yourself. Good. So what we covered here is about finding your ideal client. I shared 10 thoughts with you. Number one, there's value in being a specialist versus a generalist. Number two, processes and systems are easier when you focus on fewer types of projects. When your team has done 74 of these projects over the last 18 months, you can get really good at it and you can really fine tune things. There's a lot of examples out there of people who are doing it within our industry and outside of our industry. Study them. Look at that. Think about what they're doing and how they're doing it. Laurel with She Builds out in the Pacific Northwest is a good example. And Laura, I'm glad you could dial in and participate live. Number four, is there a type of project where your team excels the most and that's most profitable? Look under the hood, look into your numbers, understand your job costing. It might color a little bit of how you think about this topic. Number five, will your team get bored? Will you get bored? Something to think about in this strategic conversation. Number six, jack of all trades, master of none. Is that what you want to be? You can be that. You can be successful at that. Or do you want to be a master of a very specific type of project and type of approach? Number 7, there's risk. We got to think about, can your market support your business if you only focus on blank? If you want to grow into a larger, and I'll add one more thought to this. It's actually a bit easier. Look at the big companies in our industry. Look at the big ones, the ones that have scaled. You see it in siding, roofing, windows. It's a little harder on the kitchen and bath side, but in the remodeling, residential interior remodeling. But when you look at some of the businesses that have maybe scaled and have multiple locations, even within residential interior remodeling, you're going to see a little bit more of a focus on, we do kitchens or we do bathrooms, right? Think of the bath planets, think of the one-day baths. Specializing and narrowing the focus. If you have ambition to grow a really big business, specializing is going to make that easier more times than not. Number 8, can you be more profitable with this type of strategy? Are you going to be able to charge more, be more efficient, have a smoother design and development process? Number 9, even if your messaging and marketing is focused around 1 or 2 types of projects, people will still reach out. You're not totally turning off those spigots. And number 10, this is a very strategic conversation. There's a lot of depth to it. There's a lot of things to consider. Love the kitchen, somebody says. It's much easier if I could simply do number 7. What was number 7? Your market cannot support your business if you only focus on that one. Okay, cool. My friends, that was the Remodelers on the Rise show today. We focused around a very specific topic. I do hope that it was helpful. I hope it made you think. I hope it, whether immediately or in the coming weeks, months, years, is making you a stronger and better remodeler and maybe even person. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm here for you guys. Reach out if you need anything. Check out remodelersautopilot.com. It's a great little way to stay in touch with your previous clients. Catch you later. You know what I was just thinking? Remember back in the day when American Idol was a show and like people would tune in for it? Ryan Seacrest would end it with this obnoxious "Seacrest out." For some reason that popped in my head as I was signing off. So I'll be obnoxious and go, "Hunt out."